It freaking fits. Whoever said minivans aren't cool. Somebody asked me to do a how to manual video. And my manual game isn't the best right now, but I do know what I should do and how to do it. So I'm gonna explain that part and then do a few, and hopefully I get a couple good ones. There's a lot of videos out there on how to manual, so this isn't anything new, but someone did ask me on my channel to do it, so I'm gonna do it. So let's get right into it. First, let me do a couple and then I'll explain to you what I'm doing. So the prerequisite to doing any manual is finding, especially if you're learning, is finding a good flat surface. If you're on a surface that isn't very flat, it's going to be really hard to learn how to balance. Whoop. All right. Let's go try another one of those. It just rained. I was actually playing around on my jump box and it rained, and then I thought, well, it's still daylight out and the wind died down, so this is a good time to do this. Okay, I'll explain what I'm doing now. So the first step on how to get into the manual is actually getting your front wheel high enough to where you can get it into that balance point. Because if you're not getting your front wheel high enough, it's just going to get pulled right back down to the ground. And if you get it too high, it's going to flip over backwards. So one of the things you want to do is you want to pull up and actually flip off the back of your bike a few times and get the hang of that, because you want to know that you can bail out of a manual without falling on your ass. And you also just want to do that so you know where that brake point is, where the bike's going to fall back. So I'll show you that in a second. So you actually want to pull back hard enough so you flip off the back of the bike. There, I jumped off a little early. Let's actually pull up until I'm about to go off and then jump off. There we go. So that's what you want to do. You go really slow because you don't want to be having to chase your bike, and just get to that point where you're at that balance point and you're able to pull up hard enough to where you fall backwards off the bike. Do one more. Whoop, not hard enough. So this is good for you to see, because then you can kind of see what you need to do. The weight has to come back. There you go. Yes. Okay. So let me show you the motions I'm doing in slow motion, and then I will talk about them. So when you're pulling up the front wheel, and I've talked about this in the how to pop up the front wheel video, and so I will link that at the end of this video. When you're pulling up the front wheel, you want to get your weight over the rear axle or over the rear tire. You don't want to be over the seat or forward on the bike. You want to be way back here, and it'll be easier to get the front wheel up. So you're not using your arms like this, you're actually using your body, and your arms are staying relatively straight. You can do minor corrections, but you're not going like this, you're going like this, using your hips. I mean, hate to say it like this, but it looks like you're humping, kind of. You're bending your knees and you're throwing your hips forward and back on the manual. And what I will do is try to do a couple and see if I can get them. The idea is is once you get the front wheel up to that balance point, if it starts to fall back, you want to bring your hips forward, and if it starts to fall down, you want to bring your butt further over the tire. So it's this back and forth motion that's going to maintain that balance point, and you'll feel where that point is, but you'll have a hard time keeping it. And that's where I'm at now, is I can hold it for a few seconds and then it falls, and I just haven't been practicing enough to just be really consistent at it, but I do every once in a while hit a good one. So let's try to hit a good one. Okay, when I do this, I have my finger on the rear brake to make sure I can catch myself if I start to fall back. Oh, now I hit a good one and I'm off camera. Oh, that one was kind of good. Oh, there we go. I'm getting it. It's kind of this thing where you just, once you start to find that spot and you get locked in, you can maintain it for longer. But that one was pretty decent, and I'll just keep trying them, see if I can get a good one going. I also know about manuals that they're very like touchy. Some days I can just do them, and other days there, that was better. It's a little squirrely, but I did better. As I was saying, some days you can just do them, and other days it's like you'll never get it. And I don't know, today I feel kind of mediocre. We'll see. Keep trying. Hardtail versus on a full suspension bike, and they're pretty much the same. Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm kind of getting on lock here. So on a full suspension bike, the initial pull up of the front wheel is a little different because you have that compression of the shock, and there's a little bit of preload. But once you get the wheel up and you get to the balance point, everything in the manual is the same. The difference is going to be that on a bigger bike, that balance point is going to be a lot bigger, but it's also going to be more effort to hold it up there. I know when I'm on my full suspension bike trying to do manual, I feel like I'm really working, and on this bike I feel a lot more relaxed. So once I get this on lock, it'll just go. It's pretty cool, actually. Oh, I'm on lock right now. I'm way out of the camera's view, but I'm still going. Oh, yeah. I went, let me count the parking spaces. It's unfortunate I can't get it all in the camera, but I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 parking spaces. And I believe a parking space is, what, 8 feet wide? So 10 times 8, 80 feet. Oh, felt pretty long to me. Try another one. Maybe I'll start back further, then maybe we can get a longer manual. The crack might mess me up though, we'll see. Yeah, I definitely got them locked now. Still going, still going, still going. Oh, nice. So this time I started 2 spaces before that crack, and I went further that way than I did that last time. So I probably added like 14 spaces. So I'm definitely getting it. It's like now that I have that like balance point on lock, once I'm there, it's easier for me to maintain it. I don't know why I can't just go on forever. You'd think I could. Maybe I start slowing down too much, or I get tired, or whatever it is. But I'm pretty impressed with that. Unfortunately, I'm going out of the camera's view, so you can't see the whole manual, but my intro definitely shows a long manual, and it's actually took me less time here to get it unlocked than it did that day I was filming that manual for the intro. So it definitely means I'm getting it more dialed, which is cool. So there isn't really much else I can say. I'll kind of just go over it again real quick. Number one, make sure you have your finger on the rear brake. I mentioned that. If you start to fall back too far and you're going speed, you can grab the brake, and if you can feather it actually and modulate it, you can sometimes bring your front end down and keep the manual going. I have a hard time doing that. Like, usually once I'm on the brake, it's coming down, so I generally try to stay off the brake. So if your wheel starts to come down, hips back to kind of pull it back up, and if it starts to come up too far, hips forward up above the seat to bring the front wheel down. And you can do little micro adjustments to keep it going. Not a lot of this with your arms. It's mostly straight arms. It's all right in your core right here. That's gonna maintain the balance for you. Soft knees, favorite pedal forward, and go for it. It's getting dark. It is sunset, and I appreciate you watching my videos. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.